Welcome to Nature's Glory Cabin Off-Road. In this 12th edition of the Full Trail Series, we're featuring the Brushy Fork Loop. Starts out on Igo Ridge Road and turns on to FS1085 and then really on to the Brushy Fork Road, and we just call it the Brushy Fork Loop. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. We'd love to hear from you. Welcome to another edition in the Full Trail Series. Today we are doing, right now we are going to do what we call the Brushy Fork Loop. It is actually starts out on Igo Ridge Road here where we turn off into the trail, and we've already unhooked the sway bar, so we'll go to 4 low as soon as we get on the gravel. This end of it is Forest Service 1085, and it runs into about halfway down. It becomes Brushy Fork. So we're going to get into 4 low right here and go down the hill. This hill's had some maintenance done on it and this year, earlier in the spring. It's starting to rut out a little bit more now. It's pretty dry today, so we shouldn't have any trouble at all. This will be a fairly easy trail. It's got some ruts in it and some big mud holes in a couple of spots. It could be as much as a 3 for you. There's a little washout in front of us where the rain from the hill washed through from the storms from the spring. It's not too bad though. We're going downhill, gravity's your friend. This is a directional trail. This is the direction you're supposed to be going in. It is not meant to be going from the other end. Always start off on this end because this hill will get rutted real bad if you come from the wrong direction. This is the only one, I'm told, in the whole backcountry byway that's directional. A few little bumps and ruts there. Nothing very hard. You should be able to do this in a stock off-road vehicle. Should probably have at least 33-inch tires to make it easier on you. You can probably do it in stock form, but you might have clearance issues in a place or two. More clearance is always better, but if you don't have it, you have to pay more attention. I'm told that back off the right back here somewhere there's a big waterfall back in the woods. I've never actually seen it. We've had to cut a lot of trees out. Back in the spring, we stopped 8 different times and cut out trees. We were with a group, and we barely had enough chainsaw and battery and gas to get it all done. We were lucky. These trails can, a tree can fall anytime. That was left over from the winter and the rough spring we had. So always be prepared. Make sure you can self-recover. Winch is probably your best bet because if you're out here by yourself, which you probably shouldn't do, especially the first time, only way you're going to get out is self-recover. It's a long walk back to the top of that hill for cell service. There is none back in here. I say none. You might get into a draw or get the right angle or something, maybe get a little bit, but don't count on it. I usually don't count on having any. Little rock right there. We're running downhill here. Eventually we're going to get down to a creek down here at the bottom. Just take it easy. Roll right along pretty smooth. We didn't air down today. We run on these tires on the road, this little light Jeep TJ, we run 20 pounds. I don't think we're going to need to air down on this particular trail today. There's a limb that could be moved. We're going to go right over it. We might come back later and move that one. A little bit of a washout right here. Be careful going across these things. Make sure you can know where your tires are. If you have to, get out and look at an obstacle and figure out what you're going to do before you try to cross it. Remember the rules. Pack out what you pack in. Always make sure you take care of the tread lightly principles. If you're with a group, make sure you can see the vehicle in front of you and the vehicle behind you. If not, stop and wait and or get on the GMRS radio. GMRS is a standard these days. CB's pretty well fallen out of favor. This nice gravel road, I'm sure they've done logging back in here. This is pretty good shape on this end. Again, it's a Forest Service road. This end is subject to closures by the Forest Service. dirt easy trail, rough in a couple of spots there. A little wash out there on the right next to this tree. You got to be careful and not get too far over to the right side. Don't stay off the edges. The edges can give way and cause you all sorts of problems when the edge gives way. What I haven't talked about is if you meet people. We shouldn't meet anybody today because this is a directional trail, but it has happened. We have met people on this trail. The smallest group is the responsibility to get out of the way for the larger group. Now, if there's just one of you, that's not a big deal. We're making pretty good time here today. Pretty good trail, just a little rough. Again, we're on 35-inch tires with a 5-inch lift. We won't have any trouble with this trail. We do it on a fairly regular basis, so we know it pretty well. We try, if anything significant happens, to post updates and do trail updates. So, you know, this being summer and all, I don't expect any major changes until the fall when the rains start back up. Kind of work your way through. There's a little rut here and a root sticking out on one side and a limb or log sticking out on the other where a tree was cut out. So you want to kind of be careful around those things and try not to get a door dinger. I'm sure you can see the tree right above there. At some point that's going to come down and it'll have to be cut out of the way. But it's really good and high right now. No problems for a while. Hardest part of coming down that hill is staying slow enough to not jar yourself to death. As you can see, there's been lots of trees cut out. Last year, the winter and Hyline came through, and then we had an ice storm. It made it very hard on these trails. Some worse than others. We're down at the bottom now, going alongside the creek, more of a seasonal creek I'd call it, because there really isn't much water down here right now. Most of the water is standing and not running much. A little bit of a crossing right here. It's not very deep. The water's low, but if you don't know, you need to make sure you check it out. This part of the country, most of the water holes and mud holes have solid bottoms, but some of them could have a surprise in them to jar you up if you can't see it. Overgrown pretty good back in here, so you can't expect to get Kentucky pinstripes. Not as bad on this side, but when we get to the other side, it looks like a jungle for sure. And there's nothing you can do about it. So if you're really worried about scratches and stuff like that, you probably don't want to do it. The trail is easy, but the brush can be something else. And a lot of these things have thorns on them. So over in this part, right now there's a lot of bugs, so we keeping the windows up. We don't run with the top off or none of that stuff. You can do whatever you want. Lots of beautiful scenery down here, lots of great big rock faces. You can barely see them with all the overgrowth right now. In the winter you can see them much better. These trails are open 24/7, well excuse me, 24/7, 365. I mean, I guess you can do it at night. We're not really night riders, but you could if you wanted to. A little bit of a spot right there. You might have to negotiate if you have lesser clearance. Again, a lot of times I try to ride across the rut and put tires on both sides and stay a little more level. You can go off camber and go in most of them. It really doesn't matter that much, depending on how you want to do it. There are a few spots down here that have seasonal waterfalls when it rains enough. I've seen several of them in the spring and in the fall when it rains enough. Just went by another tree we cut out. Like I said, we cut out 8 times that one day. We always take a gas-powered chainsaw with extra gas and extra oil for it, along with just like all kinds of recovery gear, straps and saw shackles, kinetic ropes, tools. Try to anticipate most stuff. Can't anticipate everything. We have now made it to the bottom of Forest Service 1085. This is a nice little spot here where a lot of times when we're on longer rides with more people, we'll stop here and stop and have lunch and do things like that. It's a really good place to stop. And as soon as we cross the water on the other side, it becomes Brushy Fork. As we finish Forest Service 1085 here, from the beginning to about here, we have driven about 1.1 miles. So that's how long it was to get down here to the creek. Now it's a little off camber here, it's a little bit of a hill here, so you got to kind of negotiate this. Should be okay for anybody. Not much water today, hasn't been much, and sometimes there's a little more, but I've never seen it real deep here. I guess it could, a flash flood or something, but it really just hasn't been much anytime we've been here. Now that we are on the Brushy Fork side, the actual Brushy Fork Trail, if you notice, we got a whole lot more overgrowth, and it does get to be a whole lot more than this. It's a little bit rougher on this side. They did do a little trail maintenance on a hill up here that was a little fun, small rock climb. They took them all out, and then over time, it's rained and washed it all around it. Now those rocks are back, and we still have a little bit of a climb now. So a little obstacle to be, anybody should be able to make it. There's a couple of lines you can take over. One of them's a little harder, one of them's a little easier. So just pick your line if you're by yourself, which you shouldn't be the first time. Just pick your spot, get out and look at it, and make sure you know what you're doing. Quite a few tree limbs down low here. Like I said, you will get scratches. They may not be bad, and a lot of them might rub out, but some of these limbs are a little bigger, so you got to be careful and maybe avoid those if you have to. If you can. You can't always. There's a little sprig sticking out here on the left. That's a solid, light piece of wood, so it definitely is going to scratch you. Okay, here's that little hill climb I was talking about right here. We are not very far from the water crossing here. Maybe a 1/10 of a mile. We just rounded the corner and here we are. So it's got a nice little rock face here. It's kind of a little bit steep. This looks like it's about maybe 18 inches high in the middle. Either side, left or right, looks like a pretty climb. We're gonna go up this right side and see how we do. I don't have any traction devices turned on, and we just ride up it. It's not a hard one. It's a nice one to practice on if you haven't done it much. It's a nice place to start. Get up here to a spot. As we continue on, after the little rock climb there, most of this is just overgrowth. We do have a couple of water crossings and a couple of 2 or 3 water holes. They're probably not going to be very deep today. Keep an eye out for limbs sticking over in case something bigger is sticking out and it's hidden by the overgrowth. It's a fun little scenic ride. Whole lot of overgrowth. You can hear it running down the sides and hitting the antenna. Sounds of the trail. See is off to the left here. It's a marshy, swampy area, and there's a kind of a lake up here in one spot that actually runs into the trail, and which can make that particular water hole fairly deep, deeper than the rest usually. But again, the water's down, so I don't anticipate any problems today. That water has been pretty deep. I've seen it to the top of a 37-inch tire, but today it won't even be halfway up these 35s. Lots of bugs, lots of thorny stuff out there. A lot of pretty scenery. A lot of butterflies back in here right now, and a lot of these weeds and weeds flowers. A little off camber here. Nothing should be any problem. Now this is a little piece of the creek here. When we climb up this, there's a real narrow spot up here where you got to stay right next to this little tree, where it's right there in front of us. You can see where people scraped it a little bit, because there's also a touch of a washout on the right, so you're going to want to stay as close to that as you can, maybe even touch it. Now I'm narrower than most people in this particular TJ. The JL is wider, and the Bronco is even wider than the JL, so you got to be prepared for that. Mud hole here. It's rocky, no problems. Most of the mud holes up in this part of the country have solid rock bottoms. I say most. Now I wouldn't say all, because I don't know all the trails, but I know the ones that we're on, they have pretty solid bottoms. These used to be logging roads, I'm sure. They're decommissioned county roads in the backcountry byway. We got a low hanging tree here. If you were any taller than us, you may not get under this. You have a rooftop tent or boxes on top, you're probably going to have to do something about it, or cut that tree out. Take your stuff off the top or cut the tree out. You need to be prepared for stuff like that. There you can't see it probably on this video, but there's the swampy stuff there to the left. If you drive through here, you can see it. I don't know if the camera caught any of it or not before I said anything. probably not getting a whole lot off the side. Okay, here's a spot that great big log sticking through there. We had to cut that out. This one took us quite a while. There was quite a bit had to be cut out here. And this is the hole. If one's going to be the deepest, this is usually it when the water's up, because this is where the water comes over from the lake or pond, or whatever you want to call it, the swamp. And this one's a little deeper. And I know the temptation is going to be wanting to go to the left and get out of the main track, but I wouldn't do that. I don't know if over there, closer to the pond or lake, is solid or not, but I know straight through is. So I don't want to take the chance. So I just stay right in the track, and if the tree limbs hit me, they hit me. If you decide to do something different, hope you have a winch, just in case. Seen a lot of butterflies back here. Hopefully might see some wildlife, but we don't know. The trail itself, for the most part, is pretty smooth. A few little spots here and there you got to pay attention to, little rough spots. Probably would rate this, you know, I try to rate it for like a 33-inch tire or something like that. It'd probably be like a 3, because a little rock climb back there, and then we got some big holes we're going to be going into here in a bit. And if you're very long, you might actually bottom out and have trouble with that. You might have to find a way to kind of go to one side or the other off camber. Now, welcome to the jungle here. You see there's a tree limb, that tree down there on the right, it looks like sticking through the bushes. I'm sure it fell when all the other ones did, and just growed up. The growth just grew over it. You can see these weeds are well up over top of us. Some of these weeds are 7-8 feet tall. Little bit of a drop right here. If you're tooling along not paying attention, it'll surprise you. It probably won't hurt anything, but it'll definitely give you a start. Ask me how I know. It's best to just tool through here fairly easily and go right on. A little off camber there that surprised me, I didn't see. I rounded that corner. And off to the side here, again, I'm not on the camera, there's still more of that lake. There's also a swampy area over there too. Private property on both sides again. Daniel Boone Backcountry Byway is comprised of old county roads. Here we are. This one's a nice long water hole. It's not usually very deep. It can be a little deeper. If you look on the left side there, to those trees, you can see there's a water line that comes up on them, probably another 6-8 inches deeper when it's wet. Right now it's pretty much just stagnant water. Probably wouldn't want to stop here. Probably lots of mosquitoes. I don't know if you can't see it on the video because it smooths it out, but the hood bounces it around, tells you kind of how rough it is. A little narrow right through here. They didn't cut the trees out quite as much as they probably could have. So just kind of negotiate your way through. And there's a rock overhang right here. The camera might have caught it. During the spring there'll be a little waterfall coming off of that. lots of blackberry actually back in here as well. Lots of thorny stuff, lots of big weeds, trees. We're recording this on a Thursday. We try to come back to do these videos when there's less chance of anybody being around, so we can just get a good drive through and not have to stop a lot for other things, not get interrupted with other vehicles and things like that. Somebody's been back here. There's some tracks in the mud. They look pretty fresh because that was mud. A little bit of a incline here. If you're in a long pickup truck, your tail bumper is probably going to drag there, depending on your clearance and your equipment. There's another. This is a little surprise mud hole here. It looks like nothing, but it's deeper than it looks. Because you definitely won't be ready for this one, because you will drop into it. You can see that it feels deeper than the other one, but it's a short one, right in and right out. All kinds of wildflowers and things back here. And you can see what I mean by the jungle. It's right on top of you. And a lot of this stuff is year-round, because even when it dies in the winter, the stems and stalks stay there and scratch you anyway. Nice little flower patch there. A little bit of a low clearance spot there. You got ruts on both sides. Probably no way to get off to the side to make it any better. So if you got real low clearance, you might drag a little there. I mean, something like super stock. Now we're going uphill again. Everything's down below us here now. Still pretty smooth. Well, for an off-road trail, that is. When you get to this point, you know you're getting close to the holes because they're up on top of the hill. We got a sharp left turn here, and pretty soon we're going to be up at the mud holes. This is pretty well how I know we're getting close to it. About there. Nice and beautiful scenery. There are a few of these holes. This first one here has a fairly smooth entry but a pretty steep exit. Got a small hole right before it. I usually get right up it. I don't want to turn anything on. We'll just see if I can get right up it. I have to give it a little gas. And then right up it. One down. 2 or 3 more to go. This one here isn't much, but the next one right after it has got a steep entry and not quite a steep exit. And I usually drag my bumper here, even on this, when I drop in. So here we go, dropping in. And we're gonna probably go off camera a touch too. That wasn't too bad. And right back up out of it. A little smoother exit on this one, a little bit more of a ramp, not such a sharp exit. Goddamn way. Get in the fucking way. A little bitty spot here, and there's another one down a little further. Looks like we got a fresh tree down here. We can't get under that. Well, we did a little quick check-in and we think we can get under it, so we're going to give it a try here. Going to get far enough up on this side, and she's watching for me to make sure I don't hit. And looks like we made it. Alright, you any taller than me, you ain't getting through there. I think that's down since the last time I was here. I believe it was up higher and fell down a few notches. Got a couple more holes here. Alright, this hole here has a pretty steep on the right side. It'll throw you off camber pretty good. You can go to the left and keep your 2 tires on the outside. I'm going to go right through it just because I can, but you probably may not be able to do that depending on how you're equipped. You'll want to stay to that left side. There we go, way down. Good, nice, probably a 25-degree angle down there. No big problem. A few more little ones here. Usually this is a lot wetter. We splash in one of those real good and water always runs down the hill, beats us to the bottom, it turns out, usually. We're almost done with with what would be considered the hardest part of this. Most of those holes, at least the first couple, there's not much way of getting around them. You pretty much have to go in them. So you might have to be careful with your clearance on those. That's what probably makes this trail a 3. Because of that. Otherwise than that, it wouldn't be a 3. But I'd give it a 3 just because of that. 3 out of 10, that is. I like the 3 out of 10 rating, not the easy, medium, hard, because there's a lot of room between easy and medium and hard. As we get to the bottom here, it looks like they are starting to clear out some land. Probably going to build some cabins back here. They've widened the road. Everything's a lot smoother on the other side of this. I can see there's a pickup truck here. There's a person here that has a cabin. I could hear them back in there working while we were on top of the hill. So from here on out, it's been bulldozed pretty good. Again, they're probably going to develop it back here. for some, I would assume, cabins. Like I said before, private property on both sides. There'll be some mud here, but nothing significant when it rains. Might rut a little because a lot of this is freshly plowed. We'll have to see what it's going to do in the winter when the rainy season comes. So far, we're almost to the end. We have driven 2.5 miles on the trail in about an hour. I tried to leave in just the trail stuff. We stopped a couple of times for pictures and video. While we were stopped, I did not run the camera because I wanted it to be just the full trail length, so you'd have a pretty good idea how long it takes to really do just the trail. We've got a little creek crossing coming up. Again, it's not too impressive at the moment, but again, in the rainy season, there's a little more water in this. It's never real deep. I've never seen it over 12 to 14 inches probably. Unless something dams it up, the water runs out of this country pretty fast. Crossing, undoubtedly the same creek. And the Brushy Fork Trail is almost over. They started cleaning this up back last fall, I believe, and we thought they were just doing a little logging, but it looks like they're doing more than that. So here's the last creek crossing. Again, this is low today. It's usually, again, about the same as the others, 12 to 14 inches. And this is where we come out of the Brushy Fork Trail and onto Brushy Fork Road. I guess technically it's all Brushy Fork Road. Hope everybody's enjoyed this video. Like, share, subscribe, comment. We'd like to hear your comments. Thanks for watching.